Good evening, everyone. So I am a director of a company called The Learning Effect, and we are in existence because we believe at the moment, unfortunately, too much of the learning and development that people do or don't get in organisations is just not good enough. And we're here to help organisations improve that so they get better business impact and people have better experiences and can realise their potential and deliver what they want in their careers and lives. So that's why we exist. And this evening we're here to help you to understand why content and courses are in fact killing your learning strategy. They are the evil that is stopping you help everyone else. Now, in terms of this evening, it's a perfect illustration of a lot of learning strategies. So we're going to take this talk as a microcosm of why learning doesn't work. So, we are playing a game of lottery. So what's happened is, over the last few weeks, Nelson and his team, through a lot of slick marketing, have enticed you to come along this evening. And you have made the journey. You've decided to give up your Wednesday evening. Now, the reason you've done that is currently known to each individual in the room. You know why you decided to come along this evening and give up a couple of hours of your life. I similarly decided to come along and speak at this event and put together some content. Now that content is currently known to me. Now the game we're playing tonight is that hopefully our stars align and that what your intention was is aligned to my content, and we walk out of here and you think, that was brilliant. I walk out of here and think my content landed and we are all fantastically happy. You support us going forward and people learn better. Now, if that happens, our numbers have come back, the lottery has landed, and we'll all be remarkably happy. Unfortunately, too many learning strategies are just like that as well. So let's look at why. Now, we'll start with why learning is important. Learning is now deemed as more important than it's ever been before. But why is that? Now, firstly, the first reason is that we have recognised, and you'll see it all the time now, that we are individuals. We'll talk about intergenerational workforces. What the hell is a millennial? What's a Gen Z? What's a Gen X, etc. We look at all of those different things and think, actually, we have learned that people are individual. They come with individual experiences, individual skills, strengths, and development areas. So we need to do things differently, because in the past, we've maybe thought that everyone is the same and we approach everyone in the same way. Secondly, something called the skills half-life, and depending who you listen to, we are told that in 5 years, 50% of the skills you currently have are going to be out of date, obsolete, you may as well give up on them. Other people will tell you it's 30% in 3 years or 30% in 5 years. But the overriding message is, if we don't keep relearning new stuff and evolve our skills, we can't just keep coasting, because we're not going to develop as individuals. We're not going to develop our company. So those are two things that putting this higher and higher on your agendas of your CEOs and anyone else within your business. The next thing is the VUCA world. So we're in a volatile world that's uncertain, and there's lots of things going on. So, Brexit and all of that other stuff that I'm not going to talk about, but there's lots of things going on and we cannot live in certainty. Things change overnight in the world now, and therefore we need to be able to react to that in businesses to survive, take opportunities. Therefore our learning needs to do that as well. And lastly, actually I will mention Brexit one more time, talent shortages. But what you'll see is we have mass panics, don't we? So you suddenly go into the supermarket and the day before Christmas everyone's bought everything because the supermarkets are shutting for 1 day now, and therefore we need to clear the shelves. I'm sure at the end of October, if we don't know what's happening with Brexit, everyone will be stockpiling canned goods and all sorts of things. But we've got the same thing happening at work. We've got more people employed than ever before. There are talent shortages. People are struggling to find people in the workplace. So therefore learning is seen as both an attraction attempt for organisations to bring people in. We offer you learning, career progression. People are no longer willing to sit for 5 years and not develop. But also it's a way of retaining those people when they get in. So what are we doing to make sure that you're retained in the organisation? So those things have put it on the corporate agenda. Now let's look at the traditional approach to learning. So what normally happens, we start in the bottom corner if there's a tidal wave of a problem coming at you. So yeah, there is we're losing out on sales, we've got something happening, we can't find staff, there's a problem here, whatever it happens to be, there is some problem coming at you. So someone lobs up to the L&D team and they say, find us a solution. They probably tell you what that solution is as well. In lots of organisations, they'll say we need a 3-day leadership programme or we need a talent development programme. So someone's coming along and giving you that solution. And we may have modernised that solution, so we have a blended learning solution. So we start and we have a cup of coffee whilst we flick through some school learning before we then land in our classroom-based session. Maybe we have a follow-up and we have some webinars and various other things, but we've still got a solution that's running through for people. The next thing that happens is the L&D team go out and they set up their stall. So they're trying to flog this learning to people and make it relevant. So what I'm trying to do is tell you that this 3-day learning course that someone dreamed up over here is exactly what you need for a problem you didn't even know you had. So that's where we end up. And the last bit is we sit over on the far side consuming learning. We do it, we click through, we turn up to the day, we go through that training program. It may be wonderful, it may be the best day we've ever had. But then we go back to work, and does it actually solve the problem? Well, probably not, because we're not facing just tidal waves, we're facing wave upon wave upon wave in the business. We are in choppy seas. We need to be learning all the time, not just going through that one program that someone took 3 years to put together, pilot and roll out across the business. Is it still relevant? Probably not. Now, that may or may not be how your organisation approaches learning, but far too many are still stuck in that paradigm. And then what happens is you end up with something that looks like this. So you end up with some policy and process training, or maybe a progression course, or some leadership, or some future skills, and everyone's focused on the content. What's going to be in there? What are we going to cover on our leadership training? What's going to be on that course? What's going to be in that bit of e-learning? Are we solving a problem? Probably not. And the answer tends to be one of 3 things. So you'll all have been, someone will come and try to sell you a content library. Now that could have been, in the old days, an encyclopedia or some reference books, but now it tends to be an online set of courses that you can offer out to your people and they can find the learning they want in the way they want. Do they get used? Possibly, possibly not. Far too many of those have really low take-up rates because there's no relevance. The second one is people just start firing content out. It's a bit like standing in front of the wall and just firing off a machine gun. I'm going to fire content at you and I'm going to hope you learn. And the last one is we build a course. So we build a really solid foundation. It takes us years to build and that heads off into the distant future. But we don't really know where we're going because it's quite cloudy down there. So is that bridge even taking us where we want to? So people go through a 12-month program, an 18-month program. Where's that taking them? Oops. Now we think the answer is really around creating a learning culture. And what this does is help you to navigate far more agilely through what you're doing. And this doesn't look at focusing on content. It doesn't look at focusing on cultures. On courses, what it does is looks at focusing on having the skills and abilities and attributes in your organisation that mean as things change, people can pick up new things quickly. That you are no longer the learning team that takes something in, spends a lot of time digesting it and pushing it back out. Why would you do that when the knowledge expert is in the business and can share that with their colleagues straight away? So we think it's around creating that curiosity, questioning, challenge. You can all read, that's what's up there. But those are the things we think are key to having a learning culture in your business. And that's where L&D professionals should be. Content and everything else will come after, but create that culture because otherwise you're constantly going to be going back, putting out courses which aren't having the effect that you want it to. And ultimately, we only do anything if we have a purpose. So going back to you had a purpose to come along tonight. What was that purpose? If you are trying to do something, or you hear about just-in-time learning or performance support, so someone can't do something in Excel, my car breaks down and I need to change the tyre. If I don't know how to do that, I have an immediate need, I have a purpose, and I will therefore access learning. What we tended to do in the past was push out refresher training when it should have been just-in-time training. So if you're still doing refresher training, why? All you want people to do is be able to access that training when something comes up. So it's actually changing a lot of the things we've traditionally done in learning. Again, purpose. If I'm anyone who's been in L&D or been on a course has asked people why they've turned up, and if you ever get the response, my manager sent me, or it's mandatory, you're just like, you've lost at that point. You're trying to then resell, as I am now, trying to make this relevant to you if it's not, trying to make that sound like something you really want to be at. So if you're there to help people understand their purpose and see the relevance, if I want to get a promotion, if I want to progress my career, I have a purpose. How do you link that back to your learning strategy and your learning inputs? And we've got a very, very wordy slide there, but again, it's just looking at some of those different techniques that you will look at. So we have our traditional learning needs down the side, and over the far side, we have what we call purposeful learning, and that's about having different techniques in the moment that are relevantly applied to people. We can talk to you about that in lots of detail. It's very boring unless it's relevant to you, so I'm not going to do it tonight. But if you would like to catch up with us, we really do believe that people deserve better learning than most people are getting. Not everyone, you may be doing some wonderful stuff. If you're doing wonderful stuff, we want to hear about that as well. Thank you very much.